I was thinking I was already. So what do you find a player if they're meant to?
Afternoon.
Hey up, chaps and ladies and Johnny. Right, fire away.
Nigel,
You okay?
yes, you're right.
Yeah, good Tom.
Great to see the team winning. It was much needed, it goes without saying.
Just
what
a
sort
bit.
of impact has that victory had on the squad? It came at a good moment.
I think we'll find out on New Year's Day. That our next game is another tough one, but said after the game against Hull, and it's important to reflect on performances in a you can't look at life through rose-coloured spectacles. We know that we weren't at our best, and that Hull were a bit unfortunate in many ways, but we've had very similar experiences for a prolonged period. So the overriding feeling was one of relief as much as anything. But of course, it's not really just about saying, okay, we're relieved, we've got that elusive win. We're still in a difficult situation. We've managed to just about keep in touch, and we need to back that result up with more positive results. Now, whether that's positive performances, to a large extent, that is secondary. Although, when things don't go your way, you've got to try and look at the positive aspects, and so we'll try and continue to do that. But ultimately, we're all aware of the fact that our form in terms of results needs to be upped in 2015, and that really is our next challenge.
It's ironic, isn't it, that your performances have perhaps sustained your belief in the squad in recent weeks and months, and yet this win comes perhaps from a performance by your own admission that you're less happy with.
Not less happy with. I say less happy. I recognise that we didn't play as well, but we showed different qualities. I mean, the determination and the skill in terms of some of our defensive play was very, very good. So it's not just about we gave the ball away too much, and we didn't control the tempo of the game at times when we needed to change the tempo, and of course that allowed our opponents to get up a head of steam and some momentum, and we found it difficult to stay in the game with any sort of control. But as I've said many times before, football can throw up some interesting situations, and we come out of a game with 3 points that you could argue we didn't deserve, but we've had plenty of situations over the last 2 or 3 months where we probably deserved more than we got. So hopefully we can move on from this.
How do you assess what it's taken out of your team, that game and this period of several games in a short space of time?
The same as most other squads. There's no ideal way of doing it, I don't suppose, unless you've got a squad that has consistent qualities, if you like, right the way through. Some teams opted to make multiple changes. Some go the same. Some made 2 or 3, and that's for the 2 games. And now we've got another 2 coming up in quick succession. So the recovery from one game in 24, 48 hours is difficult. To then protract how people are going to react after those 2 games going into another couple, you've got to factor that in. So it will be interesting to see how clubs manage their own squads. I mean, we've got an idea. We've just had a meeting now about how we see the next 2 games. Clearly, the Premier League is a priority, but of course, the FA Cup allows us to possibly make other changes as well. We'll try and do it so that we have a best chance of getting results in both games, and that's really all I can say at the moment. The things to consider are physical fatigue more than anything, and looking at the injury history of players as well. And there are trends that you look at within your own squad, basically. I don't know, there's no golden rules, but I've heard many managers talking about the physiological impacts of playing back-to-back games, and whether people like it or not in these days where players get paid enough money, etc., etc. They are athletes, and there aren't too many other sporting disciplines where people are expected to play at the intensity that the Premier League certainly throws up over 8 days playing 4 games. So we'll see.
I think I'm right in saying Paul Konchesky is out.
Yeah.
He's not eligible to play.
Yeah.
So how stretched are you for the game?
We've got options. We've got options, and again, that's one player's misfortune, if you like, is another player's opportunity, and that's how the players have to see it, and that's how we view it ourselves. It's not. I see very little mileage in moaning about how situations develop. I think it's you can't talk about it being a squad thing and then not utilise the squad. It's we go into the game behind a win, and we'd like to back it up with a good performance, but ultimately a good result, and that's really what we're looking for, because the Premier League remains very difficult to be consistently good in.
Midpoint of the Premier League season, what's your half-term report, your half-term assessment of where you're at the moment?
We haven't got enough points. Quite simple. Whether we deserve more points or not, people can debate as much as they want. We know where we've come up short, where we've been, the areas that we've sometimes lacked a bit, and so adapting to this league has ultimately been more difficult than we would have liked. But that disappointment spurs us on, and we go into the second half of the season with very much belief in what we're about, knowing that we've performed well in a lot of games. Some of those games have yielded no points. But if we can up the performance just by a couple of percent, then it can make a big difference.
And Riyad Mahrez and Jeff Schlupp have been pretty key figures for you in recent weeks.
They have,
and
yeah.
It looks like they may well be missing for a little while during January with the African nations. How big a loss will they be, and is it fair to assume with the window opening later this week that you're going to need to be active in January?
We're going to try to be active anyway. To lose 2 players who have been, they've been consistently really good performers for us. So I won't be the only manager to be frustrated about losing players for an international tournament at this stage of the season. But there you have it. What's the point of me sitting here moaning? I'd rather them not be going. But they probably will, and we'll have to find a different solution until they're back. And really, that's all I can say about it. We have other players who will get opportunities because of it, and we are trying to strengthen to enhance what we've already got. It's not a case of saying the players that we have are not good enough. It's about saying we recognise the need to add 1 or 2 aspects to our game to give us the best chance of improving our results, and that's what we'll try to do. Whether we can achieve the targets that we've set out to achieve remain difficult to predict. As before, this window it's very much a difficult one to be in control of the situation, and so we'll have to see what happens.
And just on Liverpool, who you had a good look at recently,
Yeah.
of course, and what have they lost? 1 in 7 in the Premier League, something like that. Decent form, 4-1 against Swansea. What's the challenge facing them and at Anfield too?
Yeah, big challenge. They're playing a system which is very interesting and one which suits the players that they have, certainly. Our challenge as always is, can we make sure our own performance causes them enough problems? I think it's never about, or it's not always about, rather, just looking at your opponent's strengths. We've got to be how we can exploit any potential weaknesses that they have as well. We'll try and do what we have aspired to do all season, and that is be going to games with a positive mentality without being reckless. I don't think you can be reckless in the Premier League, but I think it's important for us to be very positive, and look at the best way for us to get a positive result. And really, outside of that, can't really say too much more. They're a very good side, good players, and Brendan's got a football philosophy which he adheres to, and certainly suits the players that he has.
Difficult question to ask you in the current circumstances, but two of your colleagues, managerial coaching colleagues, for the last few teams just above you in the Premier League. What's your reaction to hearing that news?
I don't like anybody losing the job. I've got you have sympathy for your peers when that happens, and sort of the empathy in terms of knowing the sort of situations that they're going through. I don't have all the information in terms of circumstances. I'm sure the bookies are a little bit annoyed that it wasn't me first, but there we are. If anything spurs individuals on to continue to do the job, criticism's there, and that's always a big incentive. But this season so far, probably been fewer managerial casualties, but it's always difficult to see fellow managers losing their jobs, because things change very, very quickly, and if you have the support of the people that you work for, I think that's always important. But there's also got to be a recognition that there is a point in which football clubs ultimately will make decisions that are best, that they feel are best for the football club, rather than any individuals. And I don't think any manager is above that sort of scrutiny. And so that's just the nature of the industry that we work in, unfortunately.
Thank you for that.
It's okay.
Colin, can I just follow up on what just to say, just to ask you why you think it's been, because I'm right, feels like it's been a bit calmer. You were right, feels like it's been a bit calmer this season. Why do you think that's been?
Don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the differences are. Maybe football clubs recognise that the people that they've appointed are, for the most part, the right people. I can't talk for other football clubs or policies at other places, and I certainly wouldn't get ahead of myself to also make assumptions about our own club. I think I've been as open as I can be during the sort of run that we've been in, and that is to say that nobody's ever above scrutiny, and the longer disappointing results go on for, it's clear that you're going to be under more pressure, and my view remains the same about working here. It's a job that I'm very proud to do. I work for people I have an awful lot of respect for, but I also understand that they will always make decisions that are right for the club, and outside of that, that's enough for me to know. I don't need to have public assurances or that type of thing. My views are very much the case that I think I understand the situation that I work under here, and we're all trying to work towards the same outcome, and that is for the club to continue to progress.
As you look ahead towards the January window, you talked about wanting
Yep.
quality you're obviously looking for. How important is character in the players you're looking at?
Well, anybody who joins, I suppose, any club has to have an impact. I think this window is about players having an impact as much as anything. So I would recognise that there may be more of an element of short-term outcomes. I've never been a massive fan of that type of a mentality, but you've got to weigh up the pros and cons of any situation. We always try and do business in which we feel that any potential targets are the right types for us, and that whether that be technical or character-wise, as you put it, or both. It's got players that come in have got to improve us, and that's really what we'll try and do. We will, but again, I don't see a great deal of mileage in giving, because it may or may not be achievable. The players would say, yeah, it would be good for us to strengthen. It being a detraction from or a influence on any of the players that we currently have here, and bearing in mind that we may lose 2 players, or probably will lose 2 players in January, I think it's sensible for us to try and to get some cover, or to get players who are going to come in and certainly influence the side.
And in terms of the pressure you've been under in terms of rolling the fixtures, how many games are coming up, how much will what you decide to do in the FA Cup game be influenced by the performance and the result in a couple of days' time?
Other way around, I think, is our priority is our next game. We try and, that's not to say we don't plan ahead. Of course, you've got to do that, but the priority has to be at the moment achieving more points than the Premier League, and then we'll look at the Newcastle game once we've got Liverpool out of the way. It's a different way of saying the cliche, I believe. Yeah, I thought about no, not my scene, that one. Yeah, all right.